Damien, look at me, I'm over here. Look at me, Damien, it's all for you. And wham, right through the window. And to be fair, if I was put in charge of taking care of a child named Damien, the literal son of the devil, I would have made sure that I met the same fate, because I would have assessed the situation and said, okay, I enjoy the money I'm getting paid, but this child is going to absolutely eviscerate me. He's going to do everything he can in the name of Satan. Hail Satan, dear. And I'm not going to let this evil individual get his grubby little devilish mitts on me. I'm going to take care of the situation and take my life in my own hands. But even if a child named Damien, the literal son of the devil, was one of the nicest, if not the nicest child on the face of this earth, it still doesn't justify the devil's haircut on his mind. He's got a devil's haircut on his mind. And that haircut alone, I know it's the 1970s, but that haircut alone warrants him being labeled the most evil child on this planet. Nevertheless, I'm John Renton with the retro review of The Omen, starring Gregory Peck, one of my favorite actors of all time. And if you take Gregory Peck's name out of this, you know what you have? You have a movie that's not all that good. Gregory Peck was approaching 60. Gregory Peck, it's impossible not to do the impression, I'm sorry. But if you take him out of this, you have David Warner, you have Lee Remick, you have Richard Donner directing, you have David Seltzer, I love that water, you have him writing, but you don't have the clout of Gregory Peck. And in all honesty, that's what this movie needed to anchor it. And he doesn't phone it in. He does a really, really good job here. And he had already had, okay, I'll put this down because you got the point that I'm retro reviewing The Omen. Also, you clicked on the video and you saw the title. But nevertheless, he helped elevate this. He did a really, really good job in this. Did not dumb it down. Did not treat it like it was beneath him. He was able to pick and choose his roles. And he's in some of my favorite movies of all time. Spellbound, one of Hitchcock's underappreciated movies. Also, the original Cape Fear. Robert Mitchum was really, really creepy in this. Gregory Peck was great. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to do the impression, but Gregory Peck was, okay, sorry. He was in the 1991 remake. He had a different role. Obviously, it would have been a bit weird for him to play the same role some 30 years later. But also, the director should have been on a watch list for that particular scene that he did with Robert De Niro and Juliette Lewis. Sweet Christ, I know the whole point of it was to be creepy, but okay, lads, that's a bit much. But when you think of Gregory Peck, To Kill a Mockingbird, Scout, you can't help but think and permanently link him to Kill a Mockingbird. He is really, really great. It's really hard to add to before you say To Kill a Mockingbird, but he was great in this. Goddamn, Gregory Peck left a great, career on the table. So many iconic roles, such as The Omen. So yeah, Richard Donner directed it. Superman 1, Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. Lady Hawk, The Toy, Lethal Weapon 1 through 4, where by the second one they were getting too old for this shit. They were really too old for this shit by the fourth movie. He did The Goonies, a cult classic, iconic movie that many people like. I'm just saying, it's like a lot of people will quote it endlessly. And the Christmas classic Scrooge that people like. I don't particularly find it all that funny, even though I think Bill Murray's pretty good. Carol Kane annoyed me. Maybe that was the point. He also did Radio Flyer, a movie that I actually forgot about until I read up on it. And Maverick, Timeline in 16 Blocks. Okay, those last two, not so great, but taking a look at that catalog, Richard Donner himself left a hell of a legacy. Rest in peace, Richard Donner. And again, David Seltzer, I love that water. He did One is the Loneliest Number, Prophecy, Bird on a Wire, My Giant. Remember My Giant? Yeah, I wish I didn't. Dragonfly, and the 2006 version of The Omen. The second worst sequel prequel that Julia Stiles has been in that has a horror theme. Until Orphan First Kill came along. God, that wasted her talents and Lee Schreiber. Let's get back to this. Lee Remick was in this. David Warner with glorious hair. Seriously, it was like a friggin' bowl. Billy Whitelaw, who played Miss Baylock. And then also Harvey Stephens played the iconic titular character, Damien. Well, he's not titular here, but he is implied. And also you have Patrick Thornton, you have Martin Benson, and Robert Rivety. So there you go. You have various actors, some really good actors, and also music by Jerry Goldsmith. So if you're not familiar with the story of The Omen, basically, Lee Remick's character, Catherine, well, Kathy for short, loses her child in childbirth. Gregory Peck becomes an American ambassador. He plays Robert Thorne. And this one particular priest says, hey, why don't you take this child? It was born the same time that it was born. Its mother died in childbirth. No other relatives. It was born at the same time that your child died. Okay, that's not creepy at all. Sure, I'll take this child and raise it as our own. My wife's an idiot. She'll believe it. And then they take this child. It ends up being the son of the devil. That's pretty much it. And a bunch of hilarious scenes follow afterwards. And if you've seen this movie, you know what scenes are hilarious. Rewatching this after a number of years, though, I do have several questions. How many Dobermans were there in Rome? How many Dobermans are in Rome? Did they teleport themselves? What was happening? Also, I would have been driven insane too if a Latin choir kept following me all the time. But again, take Gregory Peck out of this movie. It's not very good. Everybody else tries. But seriously, look what happens in the 2006 remake. All due respect to Lee Schreiber, there ain't nothing good about it. The child is dead. He breathed a bit, but he's no more. The child is dead. The child is dead. The child is dead. The child is dead. That's what they say before the scene where the child, where Damien, the infant Damien, is given to the thorns. And then there you go. Then we go to Great Britain. Actually, he's an ambassador for Great Britain. I take that back. I don't know geography very well, and I just rewatched the movie. But then they're having this party because Damien has grown up a little bit. I think he's like 5, 6 years. He's about 5 years old here. 5 years old with an ugly ass haircut. And then the nanny sees a Doberman and says, okay, I'll do that. Yes, listen to the dog. They'll tell you sweet secrets. Damien, look at me. I'm over here. Look at me, Damien. It's all for you. She hangs herself, swings through the window, and everybody's scared. There are a few children that are like, is this part of the act? What's going on here? Why are we at a children's party named Damien? Or for a child named Damien? All these questions have to be popping into their heads, even though they're like 5 or 6. And Father Brennan shows up. Yeah, mother suck. Oh, wait, no, that's not it. That's the wrong movie. Oh, right, that's the vastly inferior Exorcist. I will keep saying that until I get some reactions, because that's just my opinion. You must accept Christ as your Savior. You must do this to defeat the son of the devil. I was there the night your son was born. And then, David Warner's character, Jennings, he makes sure to, David Warner had a hell of a goddamn career. It's crazy to think that like 21 years later, he would have a bit part in Scream 2, and they didn't find a way to utilize him better. So after the nanny dies, David Warner's taking a whole bunch of pictures, including of the father, and starts to put these things together. Miss Baylock, or Mrs. Baylock, shows up, and they didn't call the agency, they didn't call her, and she had her references. The agency sent me. They didn't say what agency. Nobody bothers to check on this stuff. She's clearly evil. Why did they let her take care of the child who's clearly evil? Everyone here is really stupid. But she does say, have no fear, little one. I will protect thee. Or I am here to protect thee. Whatever. I didn't get the quote right. I will commit the act of Sudoku. And then help me find a doctor. Please help me. Doctor, help me. Help me. Spock, help me. Gregory Peck, help me. Because Catherine's starting to lose it. Oh, yeah, by the way, Damien also loses it when they try to take him into church. Because, oh, yeah, he's the literal son of the devil. You would think they would realize this. There's markings of 666 all over in various forms, just to hit you over the head more. And then the Father Brennan, tells him, go to Megiddo. Remember the Omega Code? Remember the movie The Omega Code? Remember Megiddo, the Omega Code 2? That movie was shit. That came out in theaters, and I watched it, and I was the only one in the theater at the time, and I was laughing. I was laughing a ton. That movie was shit. That was one of those Christian or Catholic, I have Christian-produced movies. But you must go to Megiddo and visit a man named Bugenhagen. Golly, what a trip. Does anybody get that reference? Please tell me somebody got that reference. Oodle lolly, but he will take care of everybody, and then he will kill you. He must die. The child must die. And then we have Damien riding his bike, his little trikey, and then he knocks Catherine over, and she falls off the banister. Not Mr. Bannister. We're not back at the Frighteners. Retro reviewed that. Check that out. And she falls. Not the goldfish. And she falls. Doesn't get cut with the glass, even though she falls right on it. But she has a concussion, a broken humerus, and anal bleeding. What? Wow. But she also found out that she had a kid, or had a kid on the way. Well, the father foretold Damien was going to get rid of that child. And now she lost the child. And now Gregory Peck's starting to believe all this stuff. So he decides, I better start listening to people. Jennings says, oh yeah, here's all these photographs. And oh yeah, here's the father's apartment covered with pages of the Bible so he could protect himself. And he had to be close to the church. It was also one of those, like, you know, one of those apartments that had a roof like this. So if you tried to hang pictures at all on any of the walls, like any of the stuff in the ceiling, if it fell, it probably would have fallen at an angle. If you tried to hang a mirror up there or whatever, it would have come down and severed you in two. These are the kind of things I think about when I do architecture. And Damien was born on June 6th at 6 a.m. Do you get it? Do you get it? Yeah, you get it. You get it. There was a priest that was caught in a fire at the old hospital. The records were all burned. He writes down a few things. Of course, obviously, this is all leading to the fact that Gregory Peck is going to have to kill his child. That's not actually his child. And then him and Jennings go to this particular, old cemetery 50 kilometers north of Rome. And they try to find these graves. And one grave was of his kid, and another grave had an animal carcass in it, apparently. And speaking of animals, all these Dobermans suddenly show up. Did they take Ubers? Oh, wait, there wasn't Ubers back. How would taxi rates work for Dobermans? These are questions that I need answered. He ends up eventually, they end up eventually escaping, but Gregory Peck gets his arm caught, and he ends up on the fence because it's got the spikes on the fence. And that's all hilarious. This, meanwhile, is after a swath of deaths. I mean, the father dying in the most hilarious way possible, getting the steeple part of the church, steeple, right through his goddamn chest. And Jennings is putting all this stuff together. What happens is Gregory Peck calls his wife and says, you need to get out of London. Go with this guy. You'll be all right. And then Mrs. Baylock shows up and shoves her out the window. Nobody catches her. Apparently the hospital staff there is just absolutely terrible. And then just let yourself in, Jennings. That's all right. Obviously, Robert is all upset. They go to Bugenhagen, golly, what a trip. And they go to that Bugenhagen guy, rather. And he tells him, here's what you need to do. Set all this stuff up in this certain way. Use these weapons and kill it in a holy place. So you got to kill it in a church, basically. That's holy enough. And he's like, I won't kill the child, even though he knows it's evil. Guess he loves it. Maybe he won't. Maybe he will. Throws the knives. Jennings goes to get it. And this was foretold that he had something across his neck when he took a picture in the father's apartment. And the window comes, and that's where the next iconic moment comes. It hits. It's obviously a dummy. I mean, your big dumb dummy, Fred Sanford's son, takes the head off and it bounces and everything. It's kind of, they had to do the miracle of editing there because it was 1976. But man, Jennings, you'd lose your head if it wasn't. It's no longer attached. And then he was told by this Bugenhagen, golly, what? Anyway, okay, sorry. Oh, check his hair. He's got the mark there, and he had the 666 mark. So now he's got to go kill him. But then Miss Baylock, who is, charged with taking care of the son of the devil, attacks him. They get in a fight. They tumble. They get in the kitchen, and he ends up stabbing her. And then he takes Damien to the church, and apparently delays just long enough so the police show up. They fire, so they prevent Gregory Peck from taking care of the apocalypse. And now Damien is with is with the president. And then that's pretty much where the sequels keep going. He keeps rising up in the power of the son of the devil and everything. And All you had to do was let Gregory Peck kill somebody. That's all you had to do, cops. And now, great. Now we have the apocalypse that led to 3 subsequently very awful sequels. Yeah, still, The Omen, pretty good. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Anyway, agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.